Well, I'm talking about a marriage, and I'm talking about a fight in a marriage, or conflict in a marriage, or conflict in a friendship. Or that's when language comes to me. If someone says to me, write a love song, no language appears. And for some reason, that's just what my brain wants to. That's what my brain wants to write about. It wants to write about domestic. It doesn't want to write about like. I mean, I don't know.
Always love you.
Yeah, I don't know what songs are about otherwise, but like, I just want to write about what it's like to try to get along with a person in a little house and get along with everybody's inconsistencies and weirdness. For some reason, language appears to me in that way. I know your sweetness had a little bit of anger in it. I talk about you to anybody who's gonna listen.
Donovan Woods, thanks, man, for coming over here to my house and talking to me.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.
Congrats on the new record, Squander Your Gifts.
Yeah.
And
that's from the Bible, right? Isn't it?
I mean, I think if you look
God
deep enough, there's
Jesus
some
said
stuff.
it, don't squander your gifts. Yeah.
Talents, that's what they called it.
Yeah.
There's that parable.
Yeah, talents.
Well, I want to talk to you about that record, and I think I want to come back to it, but maybe first, just to address it, what is the title in reference to?
Abe, like it's about a friend of mine named Abe who died too young. I don't really know how he died. I didn't really get to find out. He may have committed suicide. Either way, he was not living in a way that was going to be sustainable. He was pretty unwell in some regards.
Like hard living.
Yeah, he was just like mental health stuff, and was very solitary, like really solitary. So sometimes went a long time without seeing anybody, which, as we know, when you become a man, well, I mean, what's this? Like when you get divorced when you're a man, your life expectancy goes down like 8 years.
Yeah, you lose 8 years.
You're not supposed to be alone when you're over the age of 35 and a man. But yeah, and so it's really about him. He's a really gifted musician, really gifted songwriter, really unique melodist who made melodies that were like, they didn't seem to have a jump off point. Like you couldn't quite figure out how he got there all the time. You know that feeling where you're like, I don't know.
I've been around those people.
Yeah, you don't know where the starting point is. He just did that so consistently. But then also you'd be like, hey, you want to write a song? And he'd be like, no. And he was just like so actively squandering. He was so much better at it than me, and I could never get him to do it. And he was just kind of like, oh, okay, go fuck off. I'll do what I want with my gifts. And I was like equal parts inspired by it and frustrated by it. Like, and I think now, when I'm thinking back, I'm like, yeah, nobody's entitled to anything you do. It's not. They're not owed a little song all the time.
Yeah. Get
lost. It's just he was doing it for him, which was admirable when in hindsight.
Good way to do it. Hard to, it's not that word that some people live by, professional, which implies like contracts and not even contracts and paper, but just like, those annoying things like showing up for work on time and making good on your appointments and delivering a song at the appropriate deadline.
It sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, that's just a fucking job. It's not what I got into it for. But I mean that sincerely, because I feel like if that is a watershed, you're on the other side of that, where you're here on a writing trip right now, so you kind of honor those professional pursuits. This isn't the way I want to go on this. This is not. I don't think this is very interesting. Let me just try again. I do want to say that, like, you had some of your earliest, like, big successes with Abe, right?
Yeah, some of the first things.
Portland,
that I wrote.
Maine,
yeah,
and leaving
songs
Nashville.
I should have mentioned that probably. But yeah, the first few songs that he and I wrote together. The first song we ever wrote together, the day we met, we wrote the song "Portland, Maine," which became Tim McGraw cut it, and then my version of it is is still my most successful song. It's like the most. I can't imagine I'll make one more successful than that. It's hundreds of millions of streams, and it got us both a publishing deal. And then we wrote when we first met, we wrote I think like 7 or 8 songs in a row that were all cut by other artists, and they're all tens of millions of streams. But then we just sort of stopped. We just wrote a bad one, and then we kind of stopped writing together entirely. We just became friends, and then you know, like if you had the experience where when you're really suddenly you're very close, and then writing together seems so absurd because you just know each other too well. And it seems like, why would you do that when you could just go have a nice lunch? So, but yeah, for a good stretch of time, and I don't think I would without him, and without the demo of Portland, Maine, which was a recording that he made with this guy Todd Lombardo in Nashville, who's just incredible. You know, Todd, he's the best guitar player in the world, maybe. Without those two, I don't think I would even get to be a musician, probably, in all likelihood to do.
Because Abe brought that song to Todd.
Yeah,
I like to know a little bit of the details.
Todd produced the demo. Produced the demo for us to pitch to Tim McGraw, and then that's the demo that I released as a thing. It's basically just their recording of it. Me singing. I'm singing on it, of course, but.
And then years later, Todd did the Tennille Town song that you guys did together.
Yeah, he did the guitar on that as well. Yeah.
That was the one that kind of made me rediscover you. This is like during the pandemic when it came out. Yeah, because we'd hung out a little bit through mutual friend in another iteration.
Yeah, years ago.
And I would like to see, man, Donovan, man, that's a pretty good song. And I was too busy trying to do my own traveling all the time and living in a bubble and in a SUV. And then when I surfaced, like the pandemic hit, everybody kind of stopped and started listening to a whole bunch of music, and that track, dude.
It's hard to care about music when you care about music, right?
Isn't it though? It's weird. Well, it's not relaxing. I don't know how you feel about this. It's like work. It's not relaxing to listen to music.
I find it like if it's on, like my wife will have it on in the house, and if it's not good, I'm mad, and if it's good, I'm mad. So I don't
like new music particularly.
I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But also, even old music, I feel like when I hear it, I go like, I'll never do this. This is way better than me. Like, I love Paul Simon. I'll listen to it alone sometimes. But I'm often in interviews, they'll be like, what's playing in the tour van? And I'd be like, have you ever been in a tour van? What's playing in there is stone cold silence. Like weird resentment and stone silence. And if anyone says anything, like if anyone says anything, you're like, who the fuck is talking and why? Just look directly ahead and think of regret.
That's fun. So you do like Paul Simon? You let that squeak out.
Yeah, that's my guy.
That's what's really hard about having somebody that inspire you, that set you out on this path, and because you're going to fall short. And I mean, especially when you pick a hero like that, it's just like. It's all the words and it all comes together that well, and then the chordal thing. Like, have you ever seen?
He's like a genius, and he's a singing poet too. His poetry is better than like just reading his lyrics. He's a singing poet. He's the real deal.
Yeah,
it's like Leonard Cohen.
Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar.
It's just a poet.
Come on,
this is a poet.
Did you ever watch the Dick Cavett show? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where he's figuring out slip sliding away. What is he figuring out? I can't remember what song it is.
Still crazy.
Yeah, still crazy.
And he's like, he plays the first 2 verses, and then he's like, but now I've used all the chords,
right.
And so this is where the bridge should go. It could go here, or it could go. He hadn't written the bridge yet.
Yeah,
he hadn't finished the song, and he's playing it on national television.
Do you think it's true? I wonder if he was lying slightly or something.
I feel like I just can't believe that. But I also noticed that, like with people with whom I hold in high regard, I impart. There's a bit of lionizing there. Like I remember I used to be a big Trey Anastasio junkie when I was a kid because I was serious about guitar playing. And I was just like, I remember my then wife was just like, well, he's just stoned all the time. And I was like, how dare you? That man does not use drugs and alcohol. You can't do that and make music like this.
I think you can.
Another thing coming there.
I think you really can.
Yeah, it turned out.
My friend, one of my best friends in Canada, is a host of a radio show in Canada, like the most prominent radio show in Canada, music, like arts and culture program.
Yeah,
he would be like,
what's it called?
It's called Q.
Yeah,
his name's Tom Power, and
is he the new guy or the old guy? Because there was a little bit of a scandal a couple of years ago.
It's not okay. Cool. That's not my.
I love Q.
I don't know that guy.
I used to listen to it all the time. It was on the radio down here. Now I find it on the
Tom
internet.
is the new host of it.
Cool.
And he interviewed Paul Simon, and he was talking to so Paul Simon's manager is a guy who, this may be wrong, but as I understand it, Paul Simon's manager manages Paul Simon and Bob Dylan. Those are his two clients, which is quite a client list. And so he was after he talked with Paul Simon, he was talking to his manager. They were all in the same room talking to Paul Simon's manager, and they were talking about, Tom's very into Celtic music and into traditional Irish folk music, and he's from Newfoundland, so you're basically Irish from Newfoundland, or you think you are. And they were talking about this guy named Paul Brady, who's like a really prominent Irish traditional folk singer, and he's incredible. It's great. He sings like, do you know Arthur McBride? Have you ever heard that song? He has a version of Arthur McBride. It's it's maybe the best song of all time. But so Tom and the manager are talking about that, and Paul Simon goes, "Who are you talking about?" And the manager goes, "Paul Brady." And he goes, "Do you know Paul Brady, Paul Simon?" And Paul Simon goes, "No, I never heard of him." And then he goes, "Oh, Bob." Speaking of Bob Dylan, he goes, "Bob loves Paul Brady." And then Paul Simon goes, "Oh yeah, Bob knows everybody cool."
Still that old.
So I was like, okay, there's only one person on planet Earth that Paul Simon could conceivably be jealous of, and he is jealous of him.
Yeah.
So there's no bottom. You know what I mean?
You
will never feel
never
good.
whole.
You'll never feel good.
Yeah,
so there's no point.
Some consolation.
There's no point in trying. It was really comforting to me. I was like, okay, great. Good.
Yeah.
I can stop worrying about that.
Interesting you speak of these lauded songwriters, because as I understand it, it wasn't what you set out to do at the beginning. Is it true that you left your town, Sarnia? Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
For Toronto to be an actor? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what made you think that you should do that? I mean that in not a condescending way, like it sounded.
I don't know. You do acting, don't
I do.
make
Yeah,
you
I know.
feel
That's
like
why
I'm
I can
dumb
say
or
it.
something.
That's why I feel okay saying it. I think it's a ridiculous pursuit.
I think that
wonderful.
I believed that I was uniquely funny and special when I was a kid, deludedly or what. However, I think I was just under the impression that I was unique.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what you do when you're special. You go to the city and try to be in television commercials or whatever. You know, I think that's... Yeah. And I didn't like it. I never liked it. I liked being in plays when I was a kid. And I liked being in plays in university and such. But I never... Like, I remember I would get booked on a commercial and I would dread it every moment until I had to go do it. I would be, like, paralyzed with hate for what it was like. I hated it. And then eventually one day I was like, why am I doing this? And then I just stopped.
Yeah.
But I'm in a lot of commercials that sometimes my kids will find on the internet and make jokes about.
Oh, that's funny. So you actually had success. You had an agent.
I wouldn't say that it was success, but I had an agent.
Paid to do it.
Got paid to do it. But in Canada, you get a commercial, you get like, you get like
like a couple bucks in a six pack.
You know what I mean? Like you don't get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like in America, if you get a commercial, I think you might get like $40,000.
Dude, I tell you what. I mean, it is. My wife is a lot more successful at it than me, and we'll just leave money off the table for a second. But it can be like
let's get into
very life changing.
Dollar, yeah. Like if you get
an absurd.
If you get a commercial that becomes a national commercial,
it's really stupid.
Well, it's not like that
for the amount of work that you do.
It's not like that in Canada, but
it's because it's a small provincial place.
Well, there's more. I remember my agent telling me there's more television marketplaces in the state of California than there is in the whole of Canada. So that's why right there. Yeah.
Is that why everybody gets a Juno Award eventually?
Yeah, you could get a well-trained dog could get a Juno Award. Or like a handsome cat. Anybody?
I think I saw that album cover. No, all seriousness. What do you think it is? This isn't even serious. I said seriousness, but this is quasi-serious. We were riffing on it a little bit before, but I think about this from time to time because I think Canada, sometimes the little, what would you call that asshole part of my personality or American essential, like, fuck the man kind of an American thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, God, those fucking Canadians, they're just so, the state gives you money to make a record. That must be nice. You kid, we'd love you. Go out there and make your song. Bring it back to us, and we'll pay you for it on that end too.
What do you think?
But then I think about the artists
that make you feel mad when you think of that, or a little bit.
It made me Full disclosure, it made me like kind of take Canadian artists a little less seriously because it wasn't as hard.
Right. Yeah.
But then I say saying that like my favorite artists are fucking Canadian. Joni, Neil.
Well, I don't think they got to enjoy though. Actually, maybe they did.
They didn't get to, but there was something about them. They were Canadian. I don't know. They're both born in Canada. They came down here and made the best music in the world. So you guys aren't, I'm not going to write you off wholesale.
Yeah. I think that stuff is interesting. I mean, I would say in our defense, and I don't want to defend us. There's many parts of that, system of granting and these types of things that are frustrating to people who live in Canada, who gets them, when you get them, when you don't get them. Like sometimes you look at the list of people who are getting them and like Avril Lavigne is still getting them, and you're kind of like, why is Avril Lavigne getting them? Like, not that she isn't fantastic, but she's okay, right? Like she can pay for a record at this point, right? So these types of things happen and you get frustrated with it. But I will also say that like we're in a very unique position to be, it's not so much that we want people to make art or that we want to pay people to make art. It's that we don't want them to go to America because we're just sidled up beside the biggest entertainment juggernaut in the history of the world. There's nothing we can do. And if we allow our culture to bleed into yours entirely, which it has, like for, I would say 85% is, it's like indistinguishable between the two countries. I think like there's still a desire to have uniquely Canadian voices speaking about uniquely Canadian things. And sometimes those records can't get made unless they're funded by the government or they're given some leg up or they just won't be able to do it plainly, because there's not enough places. There's 10 major markets that you can go tour in and they're really far apart and they're inaccessible.
They're not even major markets.
They're not even major markets. And they're inaccessible for 3 or 4 months of the year. So it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah.
So if we want to have a culture, we have to fund it slightly. Or we'll just have American culture entirely.
That makes a lot of sense. And that said, I've had fantastic experiences musically in Canada playing music.
Yeah.
People really,
audiences. People love music in a big way.
Yeah. In a way that Americans sometimes... Americans have a different problem where it's just everyone's so self-obsessed that oftentimes, especially younger audiences, I'm just going to go ahead and alienate any possible listener. If you just let me talk long enough, I'll just say all the people are going to hate old chord. But I think that a lot of times, especially now with phones and everything, and God, you see like a major artist at an arena show Taylor Swift or something, and it's just like every single phone's up in the air because everyone's like getting their piece of her to show their friends. And that's the lens through which they consume art.
Isn't it funny to like take a video of Taylor Swift like you're gonna make one of the worst videos of Taylor Swift ever. It's like when you take a picture of the elephant at the zoo, it's like in the bottom 2% of pictures of the elephant at the zoo. Like you're not a good
the lighting's
photographer.
Not there.
Just look up a picture of an elephant. It's gonna be way better than your picture.
But people show you.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Teach us own. Let's talk about you, sir, because I feel like I'm being, candid and irreverent. And at the same time, I just want you to know that I think that you are like borderline, if not in there, genius status, modern songwriter of our time. I think that you're very, very special and unique.
That's really nice.
Your catalog speaks for itself.
Oh,
and I know that I'm not alone in saying that you write songs that just like kick you right in the heart.
Oh,
and you're also like, to use your own words, you said something about, and I'll misquote you here. You're welcome. Talking about what you'll experience at a Donovan Woods show, and you're just like, it's emotional and funny and not too long. Is that a fair assessment of it?
I don't want it to be
the Donovan Woods experience.
Well, it's not. Don't you feel like? I feel like I have like a limit that I can stand of a concert. Like I would never go to a concert unless there's like a little area for special people to stand and you get like a little drink or something. It would be hard to convince me to go to a concert unless I love them. But even still, I want it to be an hour and a half. I want it to be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be 2
Are
hours.
they longer than that? I don't ever stay
Sometimes they're longer. Sometimes they're like an hour 45, 2 hours.
You got 2 real fun-loving guys here on the podcast.
Oh, my legs
today.
are hurting, dude. I can't do it. I just want to go. I don't want to do it.
Dude, I get it. That's why I was telling you off mic that there's 2 clubs that are right by my house here in East Nashville. One's the Basement East, which is like a legendary club I was at last night. Yeah. And the 5 spot is even closer.
Oh yeah, 5 spot. It's awesome in there.
I love it there. And it's just like that has spoiled me. Like I will not go see a show at Third and Lens, like any club that's even awesome. I went to go see one at the Blue Room, and I was annoyed the whole time because I had to stand up. Tell you what.
What is that? What's that place? Is it new?
It's attached to the Third Man Records. It's
yeah.
It's a great little room, and it's like a little room. It's cool. I've seen some fantastic shows there. Bree Kennedy was there just the last show. She's a great show.
I don't know her, but I know people who know her.
But yeah, it's definitely it's easier for me to go out because I'm not on the road all the time. But when I was on the road all the time, I never ever would go out and see shows because if I wasn't playing, I just want to be.
Sometimes it's fun when you're out on the road. If there's somebody coming through, it's fun to be out and then
because you're gonna be out. Anyway.
Yeah.
You said that the way that you go about writing songs, at least this is some interview I read. It's words first for sure, and kind of a melody. It's like a word or words or maybe a title that kind of sets a mood, and then you sort of set out after that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, like some instructive piece of language that's like, sometimes it's not even something that's going to end up in the lyric, but just like a feeling that I'm trying to get at. And oftentimes it's like 2 or 3 lines that are going to be in the song. And then that sort of informs the language. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, the feeling of like it's when the language starts to appear. For me, it's all about like the language starting to appear. When you start to understand what the language of what the lexicon of that song is going to be, then you start to know like, okay, the word limousine is not going to be in this song. The word magazine is not going to be in this. You know what I mean? Like you can start, and then it just starts to come down to a thing, and you understand how to do it. But like, yeah, it's always language for me first, and I don't even really care about like melody or like, I care. I mean, it would be great if it has a nice melody, but I'm kind of like, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, we'll figure that out.
You know, it's interesting because I also am a big fan of James McMurtry, another like really lyrically gifted songwriter. And also like kind of, he got some swagger to him, you know, he's going to write some songs that might not please everybody in the room. I love that. But the song, I would say that his melodic like sensibility and even chord progressions are like almost recognizable song to song. You know, there's definitely like things where I'm like, okay, you kind of live in this very similar world. You're not trying to like write a unique melody with your songs. You're like treating melody as a vehicle for the message of what you want to convey. I don't feel that same way. You know, I don't notice that your songwriting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that.
I would always think that people would. That's interesting. I would think that people would feel like there was a world that I'm inhabiting. And
I would say that for sure. I just melodically, I don't notice. I mean, like quarterly is like hovers around 1 6 4 5. You know, hey, whatever. Don't mess with it.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
And that I think that's maybe something I want to ask, because one of the things I marvel at you with that I don't do is that you like within a limited palette, you're just like incredibly expressive. But I wouldn't say there's like a conscious restraint that you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not going to step out and you're not going to like, you know what, this set needs some kind of like rocker.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? And is that like a conscious decision, or do you just have like a very strong sense of self? That's what I want to say. That's what it feels like.
I think that's what it is. And I think it's interesting. I think like the older I get, the more I think that my taste has more to do with my insecurities than it does with anything else. I don't like, I'm worried about my body all the time. I'm scared about people looking at me. I feel bad in my own body most of the time. I have for most of my life. I don't want to be loud and jumping around because I think I look ridiculous in doing that. And so I just avoid a song that would do that. And it's wonderful. Like and then it gets sort of cataloged as like this, as an elegant restraint. Now there is like restraint. Like it is like, I don't like singing it unless I can hear it coming out of my mouth conversationally. And if I can't, I just have a real allergy to it. Like I find it. And also like, it's like, you know, the feeling of being an artist. Like like my life is like, I risked a lot of shit to do this job. I'm not going to like say some dumb shit just to try to like, you know what I mean? I tried really hard to be a musician and it was horrible. So like, I'm not going to like be like, maybe this one will really connect with I don't give a shit about that. So yeah, like there's restraint in that regard. But I think like, I'm never screaming loud. I'm never like, and I think that honestly it has more to do with my insecurities and my personality than it does with like, to my own detriment. I think probably I would have been doing a lot better if there was certainly folk music right now is all about yelling. It's like young people, just young guys yelling at you. And they're great. Some of them are really great. But like, you know, like Noah Khan is like, he's screaming at you.
Yeah, those are big songs.
Big voices, big moments. And it's really wonderful. And people respond to that. Lumineers, the same thing. They're screaming at you all the time. And people really respond to that. And I wish that I could do that. Also, I'm not able to even sing like that. My voice doesn't even really do it.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, it's just like my own personal limitations.
Yeah. And you didn't ever, when you were like discovering guitar, go like, how do I get better at this thing? I feel like I feel like that sounds like a dig, but okay. Let me just back up and say I find your guitar playing to be very
compelling.
Compelling for sure, dude. Yeah, it's effortless. It like there's something about performers that try on stage in front of you that is hard for me to like. I think it's hard for any audience, even at least on a subconscious level, because you're just like, you want to be just taken along. You want it just to be as free as the wind.
That's how I feel, yeah.
And your guitar playing is that, you know, like...
Right. I'm not going to make an error because I couldn't. It's one finger and two fingers. It's really easy. But like, yeah, I have like, and this I think probably is to my own detriment. Sometimes I watch people, like I'm making a record right now in Toronto and we had this guy named Sam Weber come in to play the guitar. He's unbelievable. Everything he does is, I mean, Todd Lombardo's the same way. Like we say, like, he will take a chord progression that you have heard 1,000 times and he will listen to your melody and he will make your chord progression 20 times better just by making small, tiny choices and adjustments. I really wish to God I could do that. I don't know that it actually helps you be a songwriter. I don't think it does. And I've been pretty wary of not improving at the guitar. And I shouldn't. I wish that I was better at it. I honestly do wish that I did. I know that I'm really bad at it.
You'll catch yourself practicing.
And some people will be like,
put it down.
Some people will be like, you're an amazing guitar player. I'm like, I really am. And I'm happy to admit to it. I really am not I don't have a lot of faculties on there. And I have been guarded against improving because I don't know very many people who are really good guitar players and really good songwriters. Do you know anybody?
No.
It's hard. I think it's really hard.
Because, well, you know, it's weird because I was aspirational as a guitar player, and I was like front of a bluegrass band, and
I don't think there would be anything more fun than being free and able to play anything you want.
I agree.
It would be so fun.
I agree. And I tried for years, and I got some facility for it, enough to just like it be more fun to do that than to write a song. And I think that's the thing, is that like, it's just more fun to play guitar than to write a song. Yeah. Because you're just already playing music. You're just, I'm playing music now.
It's sick.
It's sick. And it's just awesome. You're like playing music.
Oh, dude,
like,
it's so sick. It's the best.
Like, I have guys in here playing. I'm just like, God, Packy Lundholm. Do you know him?
No.
He's a Chicago guy, but he's new to town. And God, what a great player. He's in that like Theo Katzman world. Theo spent some time down here too. I say this like we hang out all the time. But yeah, I love being around really great guitar players, and I do like getting better at instruments, and I also have written, you know, like I've made my career in songwriting, and so that's what I should spend more time doing. And I noticed that I don't, because I'm like, I got really excited about Clawhammer banjo one year, and that's just all I played. I wrote some songs on it.
I've been excited about that before.
It's really fun. It's just like, because it's so different. It's like you can't. It's just a whole other animal. And I don't know. Yeah. So that. But I think that if I had more Sitzfleisch, I think, as they say, I would have written more songs. You know, it's not, whatever. I'm young. I'm plenty of time.
I'm pretty like, you got plenty of time. Yeah. But like, I'm pretty. I try to really during the pandemic, I got into like I was going to build a home studio. And I was going to do all this stuff. And I was gonna I was getting plugins and stuff, and you know what I mean. It's like a bottomless pit.
You say that,
and you go
really rolls off the tongue when you say it.
I was like, I'm gonna get this instrument. It's gonna open up all these new pathways for songwriting. None of them do anything.
Yeah,
they never make you write a better song. Never. I would say like maybe you get a new guitar, and like a C sounds really uniquely good on that guitar, and then that might help you write a song. For me, it's just like it's a more valuable day for me to literally sit and look at a wall than it is to turn a knob or try to make a guitar sound like something with a plugin. I would never achieve anything.
You don't ever do your own like Pro Tools session.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. God, that's just such.
I don't even want to learn to do it.
Yeah, because then you will. I learned how to do it, and now I can do it.
But it's fun. It's so fun. And people who are good at it are amazing and amazingly valuable to the process. And like,
it's really wise. But I think by the same token, you get, it's just easier to turn knobs than to write a song. It's so difficult to write a song.
It's really hard.
So many people get, like I can run a session. Guess what? It's not that fucking hard to learn how to run Pro Tools. Like at a high level, like great mixing, and it is absolutely masterful.
Right. It's like anything where the difference is like you could get to the 85 percentile, but the gap between 60% and 80 is the same size as between 80 and 90. You know what I mean? Like the 90th percentile of people are uniquely in all those technical fields. Like when you meet the really good people, you're like, oh, he's way better than everybody else at this. It's unbelievable,
What role, if any, did like drugs and alcohol play in your creative process as a youngster or a middlester?
Yeah, none really. It was not. I've never. Drinking alcohol makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bloated and like everyone hates me. So I don't do it. I will do it sometimes when I can tell that other men will be upset when I don't. Like if I'm meeting a man for the first time and he's like, let's have a drink, and I'm like, okay. Like I don't feel. I don't like have to avoid it or anything. Yeah. But it does make me feel good. It makes me feel sad. I want to go home. I smoked my weed in university and after university. I didn't do music on it though. I just like mostly played Mario Party and Tetris with my friends. It's never been, I don't know. It doesn't help me to be fucked up. It doesn't help me to have my perspective shifted.
What did you go into recovery for?
Oh, I was like, I have like, I guess it would be like impulse control problems. I was like eating too much and looking at too much pornography. I had like sort of just lost the plot on myself in some way. And I went into therapy I went into like an addictions counselor. I was sort of like living a separate life with myself. I was sort of like I had my public facing person and then I had like my actual person. And I thought that's what everybody did. And then when I met this addictions counselor guy, I went there to think that I was maybe a food addict. But quickly in the like meetings and experiencing that, I was like, oh, I don't think I have this intense of a problem. But I have some impulse problems. Like I don't have any willpower and I have some impulse problems. So the addictions counseling was like, it's like suddenly you get to the bottom of it and it's like, oh yeah, everybody has that hole that they're trying to fill with something. And I was filling it with really rotten things. And he gave me a lot of strategies to figure out how to just unite my two halves into one thing and like live my values all the time. I thought that people had their values and then you live this way, but you have these values in your spouse,
official position,
but then you do all the whatever shit you want to do. And I didn't realize that people that were really together would actually live in their values. And to do that now is like, God, it was like a revelation to me. I had no idea. And I didn't know that until I was like 39. I think and then realizing that in that course of that therapy, I was like, oh my God, like this is so much better to be my actual self all the time. It was really hard. And then you start to see like, I think when I got divorced when I was 35 and I didn't do any healing from it. I didn't like do any therapy. I didn't do any healing. And I think that's when I developed like a coping strategy of just like having two different guys, basically having two different personalities, having like a forward-facing personality and then my actual behavior. And that's sort of how I was coping with the stress and depression of getting divorced. I mean, you've been divorced. I don't know whether your experience of it was like this, but we had two kids and it was like, it's still to this day, like to wake up and not have a sense of exactly where your kids are. They know they're at your ex-wife's house, but you don't really know where they are. You don't know how they are. You can't talk to them every minute of every day like you should be able to. It like sometimes puts a weird paralyzing fear into me that I can't even really explain.
I had never even considered that.
It's
like
horrible.
You can't call them right now. Or
I mean, I could always call them. I can always call them, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's like there's just some feeling where you're just sort of adrift, and if you don't like actually work through it and figure it out, and I didn't for like probably 6 or 7 years. And then I was remarried, and I found that the problems in my new marriage were the same problems as my old marriage. So then you go, well, it's at very least it's half me. You know what I mean? I'm the problem.
What were some of the strategies? Or like, to me, that's not, it's one thing to have a light bulb go off in a moment of illumination, but it's another thing to like apply that new information, to your active lifestyle. Because to me, it means like revisiting it over and over and over again. You're creating a new pattern.
It's basically like it's basically the same as like a 12-step program and the sort of impulsive stuff. Talking about being people who have compulsion problems, that it's like never. There's like a list of behaviors that you just write off and you stop doing them. Completely cold turkey stop. And then there's never lie. Literally never tell a lie about anything ever. Never. Not having a half truth. Don't try to improve your position on things. These types of things. It was like, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at all my list, but I had like a list of 12 things that I was actively trying to do for a really long time. And eventually they just become a habit, and then you're not bothered by them at all. But, like I would, like when I would take, when I would have the kids at my house for their allotted time, I would take them back to their mother's house. I would be just unmoored for hours, and I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I would be upset. I would like eat hamburgers in a parking lot. I just couldn't I didn't know how to regulate myself or how to, and then I felt ashamed of myself because of this behavior all the time. And then I'm acting out because I feel ashamed about myself, when if I just stopped the whole thing, I could get on top of it. I wouldn't have to feel ashamed all the time. I could feel like, no, I'm good. I'm a good parent. I see my kids. I pay my child support. I'm an active participant in their lives. And then you can feel good about yourself. But like for many years, I did not do that. I didn't feel good about myself ever, And then I had a job where I would go and for something that was relatively easy to me, I'd get this outsized amount of praise. And then you come off stage and you go, and this sounds so like, oh, poor me, but you come off stage and you're in the hotel room and you're like, you hate yourself. You don't feel good about yourself. That all feels like a lie. You think, how could these people like me? They don't know anything about me. I'm not a good person. So you can't even enjoy that. You can't even like feel the adulation. And it just like piled up for 6 or 7 years to a breaking point where I was just unpleasant to be around in most circumstances. Yeah.
I'm curious about what galvanized your creative spirit at a young age and how that's changed over the years. Like the Donovan Woods that writes today is not the kid that just left Sarnia or whatever, got done with hung it up in Toronto with the acting. Like I'll just say that for me, like when I was starting out, I just like wanted to be loved, and that was my vehicle. It was like the hole in my heart was that just like people didn't like maybe my whatever. This isn't about me.
No, let's get into it. Like, were you about to say your mom and dad? You didn't think your mom and dad cared about you enough? Is that what it was?
Well, my parents listened to this, I think maybe, and it's like the really sore stuff. But I would say that I don't think that my mom liked me. And I think they loved me. I think I had great parents, but I don't think that she liked me, and I felt that intensely as a little kid. And I was also really sensitive.
Now do you have a child? Do you feel like do you feel the impossibility of that? Like, does it still feel like a possibility that she didn't like you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could have just been I've gone through every fucking possibility of that, like including. And not limited to like I could be absolutely wrong, and I just was read it wrong. Yeah. I don't think so. I think kids know what's up, and also my mom had I'm not trying to throw my mom under a bus. My mom had a really difficult life. She had 2 kids before she met my dad, with a man who, long story short, stole those kids through a ruse and moved to Mexico, and she didn't see them for 6 years.
Oh my God.
So she was just completely fucked up, and then all of a sudden I was born. And so she was like, I cannot like deal with this. And then my little brother was born with cancer, and so he was in and out of the hospital, and so they like had to just deal. And I was kind of just like, you know, like, here's a box of Legos, and whatever. This makes them sound like shitty people. They weren't at all. And
I don't think anybody's a shitty person.
Yeah.
I think being a parent is like impossible.
So difficult. Oh my God.
Impossible.
But I definitely will, you know, say like with regard to how my daughter is, she will not feel like that, you know, and I know that she won't, because her mom just absolutely adores her. So it's not going to come from the mom side. And I just, you know, I'm in love with her. So
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll do other idiot things that will leave her malformed, but not for lack of trying.
There's no perfect kid.
Yeah.
Everybody
Anyway,
gets
so
their
I set out to, like, I wanted girls to love me in particular. And I also just like could do it. I had lots of like positive reinforcements, and I also really enjoyed it. Like I didn't have to practice piano. I could just kind of do it. And it was like, I enjoyed getting in there. But so my point is, like, you know, you set out in a way to make a name for yourself. I don't, you know, what that is. And now it's like, now you're here. Are those two things different? Do they come from a different place? Like what makes you come down to Nashville and do writing sessions?
I don't even know. I think like, I left town, a lot of the feeling that I had that I wanted to be accepted, and like the same as you, was like, I felt I was a fat, chubby kid, and I always wanted to feel like I was like lovable, and that people could love me and be nice to me. And it was, and a good strategy for that is to become like the most important guy in the room. And so I tried really hard to be the star of all the little theater plays when I was a kid, and then I'd be like, you know, you'd think like, oh, nobody will make fun of me or like exclude me if I am really funny and everybody really likes me all the time, you know, and these types of feelings. And I think like that's like kind of still what I'm after in a really sad and you know, in a small way. But like, you know, I always played music. I always played the guitar and sang. Even when I wanted to be an actor, I did it all the time. And I did it really just in secret for me. I was doing like performance of a person that I thought was really cool and nice. And that's sort of what I'm still doing. I'm still doing like a performance of a guy that I think everybody would like, you know? And I think like I've become that guy, and to a certain extent. I mean, like sometimes I'll have a moment of like, I'll headline a venue or something where I'm like, hey, I am the guy. I can stop feeling like I'm pretending to be the guy all the time. I'm thinking maybe I am the guy. Mm-hmm. But you never really feel like the actual guy. But yeah, I think like my parents were really kind to me. Everyone was really kind to me. My mom was everybody's really supportive of me. I thought about going to law school. My dad told me that every lawyer he knows hates his job, and he encouraged me to not go to law school. I had parents who, like, if I fucked up my life, I had a safety net. I could live in their house. So it's like I had that unique privilege, and I could try to be a musician. I thought, I guess I might as well, you know. Mm-hmm. I guess I probably should. And then I felt when I was in a group of people coming up in Toronto, and we were all folk guys writing songs. It would have been like the first wave of, probably like the eighth wave of actual folk music, but like Mumford and Sons wave.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was progressing at songwriting faster than the rest of my peers. And not all of them though. Some of them were better than me, and they stopped, or they didn't like it. Or like, you know, the rarity of being good at writing a song and also able to stand on stage and perform it is like, not very many people can do that
really true.
Effectively, you know.
I mean, that's one thing that's sort of what I hold on to right now. I'm like, the other thing that I'm really excited about is writing, and I'm like better at books. I know more about books than I do music.
I just started writing a memoir.
That's great. I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Well, it's not good or anything yet.
Yeah, it won't be, but it will be eventually.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's such an interesting, you know, it's like anything where you realize that, you know, I read all the things that are I read Stephen King's On Writing and
I
everything.
love that
Everything.
book,
It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Everything you're supposed to read about it. And like the discipline of being like, don't edit, just write in the morning. And I really, since I'm this age, since I turned 40, it's like I have a window of like lucidity that's like, I think 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then the weight of the world returns.
Yeah.
So I just try to dump it all out in that time, and it really is like that's what you have to do. You have to be like as disciplined as you would exercise.
Yeah, it's definitely a
get
discipline
it going.
thing.
Yeah.
You don't get a quick return on your investment.
No,
with the book
not at
thing.
all. It's interesting, and then you go back through it, you go, this is all crap, and then you try it all again, and then you go, this is okay. It's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I've always written poetry, always in between songs. Sometimes songs will start as poems. There'll be a piece of a poem that I think is language that will turn into a song. But I've always written poetry. And I honestly, if I could do a thing, if I had enough money to do nothing, I would only write poetry and just read poetry and write poetry all day, I think probably is what I would like to do.
So says the guy who's allergic to poetry and his songwriting.
No, but like,
Interesting.
not like big things, just like when a poem can like, the feeling of like, a song can do it too, but sometimes a poem is just churning at it's just doing a vibration that's like, when you just read one and you go, oh, this is doing something to the time and the space when I'm reading it. And it's doing something to language that's like unavailable in any other form of art. It's not, sometimes you see a movie that does that churns at that level, or like, and it's such a personal thing. Sometimes you'll see a movie where you go like, oh, this is vibrating at the exact frequency I would like to see something at. For me, it's like the most transcendent experience of art is when a poem is exactly right to me and is the thing it's describing. Sometimes I don't even know what it's talking about. I read a lot of Paul Muldoon. I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about like,
Who?
Paul is an Irish poet named Paul Muldoon. Mm-hmm. He's talking about like, a lot of times he's talking about farming. Uh-huh. I don't know what he's talking about. Sometimes they will just go, I'll read a thing that I don't even really get, and it's vibrating in a way that I'm like, oh, fuck, I could read this for the rest of my life. I love it. It's like, that to me is the highest form of something. I don't know why.
I'm going to sit and think about that for a second while you perhaps get set up to play a song here in the studio. Do you want to set this one up?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to play the first song off of the EP. It's called I Talk About You. It's the most sort of directly narrative song. It's about Abe. It's very definitely about my friend Abe passing. And it's the opening to the EP. The rest of the EP is sort of, it's all about him, but it's sort of harder to access what it would be about. Sometimes it's, one of them is just a thing that only he would understand, really. So it's really the most direct expression of what the EP is about.
Let's hear it.
All good? I talk about you to anybody who's gonna listen. Your life may be through, gotta go on living. Oh, your pill bottles had two kinds of pills in them. I talk about you to anybody who's gonna listen. I thought so much of you, though we had our share of friction. AC set to 62. Only one kind of food in the kitchen. I know your sweetness had a little bit of anger in it. I talk about who's gonna listen. I think about you, both your eyes wide open, all alone in your bedroom, week before anybody noticed. I did nothing. I've never really done a thing for anyone, but I talk about you to anybody who's gonna listen.
Sounds like you got a good situation going now.
I love that
marriage
dude.
department.
I love my wife and I love each other very much. But we, same thing. We like fight and have our irritating fights. And having an ex-wife and I have an ex-wife that I speak to every day. Like we're an active participant in each other's lives all the time. So it's like that's having another stakeholder in the in the relationship, basically. So that stuff provides a amount of stress. You find it when you get divorced and you have kids and then you get remarried and have kids again, you find out why people get divorced a bunch of times. Because the second one, you have another marriage that also has the weight and fallout of the first one into the second one. And then if you, there are moments where I thought I would be divorced again. And then thinking about, if you had the third one, you'd have the weight and consequences of the second one and the first one. If you get three times divorced, you might as well get divorced 50 fucking times. It's your life's ruined. So I was very and not just because I don't want to be divorced 3 times. I love my wife, really. I think she's wonderful and we get along when we love each other. But I really did not want to do 2 divorces. This would be horrible, dude. It's horrible.
Terrible.
It obliterated me. The first one, it was so, it was awful.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, it's weird. I had a feeling. I got divorced a super long time ago. It was in my early 20s. I got married at 18. I was married for 3 or 4 years.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, wild choice.
Do you talk to your
Not at all.
Anyway,
Not for any acrimony. Just she's been so long. She's in Washington State. I'm in Nashville, and that's a story for another time. But I do remember having prior to all of that, I thought, oh, people who get divorced are quitters. That's just my parents didn't get divorced, and I'm sure they had stuff. And then having gone through it, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that, because I remembered when it got so bad in that relationship that the first time that it occurred to me, oh, well, you could get divorced. And I was just yeah, right. We didn't have kids, and I just couldn't even imagine disappointing everybody around me, my parents, her parents, how it would just destroy my life.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing also to admit that you made a mistake or that you feel like you failed.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. Also, the people that were divorced when I was a kid, the parents, my friends' parents who were divorced were they were always screaming at each other on the lawn and stuff. They were it was bad. It was really bad. They were living low. And and my parents are married and still married. And I just thought that people who got divorced were they're just crappy. And that's so mean and horrible, because they're totally normal people that just have just made sometimes really good decisions to not live together. But my mind, I was no, if you do that, you're the worst type of guy.
Yeah, you just gave up, walked out, all of that stuff.
Oh, dude,
man, we've gone far afield from the creative enterprise that usually governs these conversations.
Sorry,
that's great. I do want to know though. There's something that you said about your songwriting, and that you can't write just you just wish that you could write a straight, beautiful song, but there's, you're always going to kind of throw a wrench in the bridge to just like take it a different direction or make it more complicated. And I can relate to that. And I think that speaks to a lot of what makes your song so effective and human and empathetic. And at the same time, I think this is just like true of artists in general, is that they sort of like make things hard on purpose. Like, do you actually want to write a straight up beautiful song? Like, actually, I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I'm not even sure what the like, it's funny, like that song that is the duet with Tenille Townes that you mentioned, the I Ain't Ever Loved No One. When I was thinking of that as being a really sad song, and that is many, many people's first dance at their wedding. And I did not see it that way at all. I thought that I was writing a really complicated song about two people who, really what I was writing about was like my parents both grew up in farming communities. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I was like very in touch with the farm all the time. My grandparents both lived on farms. And always in these farming communities, I remember my dad talking about, like, sometimes there'd be like a cousin that lives with their cousin, and they would spend their whole life, just two of them cousins, living platonically, just cousins living together. And it was like, from a modern standpoint, you look and go, okay, one of them was gay, or one of them was perhaps on the spectrum, and their family member was like, I'm going to live with them and look out for them, and we're going to live together, and then we won't have to answer any questions about our lifestyle. We will just live. And sometimes people, that would happen in a farming community, and nobody would go, he's weird. They'd just be like, he just lives with his cousin. End of conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, that the idea of that was so beautiful to me and so like elegant. That's kind of what I was writing about. I was trying to write about a person who'd never even experienced a relationship with someone else, and then suddenly did when they were older, after they had spent their whole life never being in a relationship. That's what I was trying to write about. And it just came out maybe as just like a love song. But that's, I think, like, I'm not really attracted to the language of love. I think it's just like, I'm not trying to be complicated or anything. I think that's a bad way to think of it. Or I'm not trying to be like, watch out, said I can make this. That's not, my goal is always like, when I am talking about domestic entanglements, or like when I'm talking about relationships, when I'm talking about hardship in a relationship, or like trying to get along with another human being, that's when language just appears to me. That's what I want to write about.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Like when I'm talking about two people, I'm talking about a marriage, and I'm talking about a fight in a marriage, or conflict in a marriage, or conflict in a friendship, or that's when language comes to me. If someone says to me, write a love song, no language appears. And for some reason, that's just what my brain wants to. That's what my brain wants to write about. It wants to write about domestic. It doesn't want to write about, like, I mean, I don't know.
I'll always love you.
Yeah, I don't know what songs are about otherwise. But like, I just want to write about what it's like to try to get along with a person in a little house, and get along with everybody's inconsistencies and weirdness. For some reason, language appears to me in that way.
One of the things that you do so well that is, I think, that part of the reason why you've stamped out this really unique career is that you are a really evocative storyteller, and at the same time, your songs have room for the listener to put his or her own life and experience into. And so often it's like one or the other. And having come from like the folk tradition of like these earnest folk singer-songwriters, of which I am one, there's like a confessional and a very like a personal aspect that lights the song on its way. And yet it's so often I have to learn this the hard way, and I'm still learning it. I'll like listen to an earnest 24-year-old's song. He's like, oh, she got real talent there. She can play, she can sing. I can tell you, she's got a way with words. And yet this like song is so about her very specific experience. There's no room for me or anyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not a fault necessarily. It's a kind of song, but like your songs, I'll speak just as somebody in the audience at a show or listening to one of the records. It's like, it's also my song. So that's not really a question. It's more like an observation / compliment, or maybe I'll turn it into a question. Here we go. Is that something you set out to do? Are you like, let me, not put too much of myself in here. Let me create some ambiguity or some room, or is it just sort of like it's in the magic box of songwriting?
I think a thing that I'm interested in, I think the thing that it creates the illusion of that, like songwriting, like, is like a trick. It's basically a trick. It's basically like a trick that you learn. And that's why it's hard to be like, I appreciate all your kind words, by the way. I'm going to say that I don't, but it's hard to like take people's love for it too seriously, because it's a trick. It's like a little trick that I've learned. And do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, it's like a magic trick in a way to make it feel like it's real, or make it feel like the emotions are real. But one of the things, I think the thing that does that thing that you're describing is, I always want the narrator to be less than forthcoming with the information. I would like the person who the song is coming from, or the story is being told by the narrator of the story in the song, I would like them to be less than thrilled about having to tell the story. And I kind of start with that as a jump off point, where it's like, I'm interested in, I come from a family of men who don't open their mouths if they don't have to, and are very reluctant to share anything about themselves because it makes them feel weak or vulnerable. So I think I'm always trying to write from a perspective. A lot of what I want to write is about what's wrong with men. I think there's a lot wrong with us, as we know. So I think the starting point is always like, I would rather this narrator is a person who feels really real to me, in that they're not really super thrilled about sharing all their dirty laundry in this song, but they have to say something. What can they say that's not going to be humiliating to them, And when language does that, when language like toes that line, and it's not like it does, a lot of folk songwriting is like, here it is, warts and all.
Yeah.
I think like I'm always avoiding that, because the type of character that I'm interested in is usually a man whose mouth is like a fist, you know what I mean? He's letting small pieces of information out, and then those little pieces of information tell a bigger story, and then there leaves their space to live in it, rather than, because it's not so overwhelming with confession, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's great power in reticence.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, I mean, you described these proverbial men in your life as it being like an aspect of wanting in their natures, but at the same time, it is that very thing that makes it, when they do open their mouth, it makes you want to hear what they have to say, because it's like, wait a second, Uncle Joel's speaking.
Right.
Well, he's got a story to tell, and I know that from my own experience with, like, as a little kid, the old guys, that same. I mean, that's old men and me the world over. It's like, I won't say two words if one will do.
Yeah. And a lot of those, and the things that they did, those men, certainly the men in my life, my dad and his, my grandparents, my grandfather, and a lot of the things that they say as placeholders, like, well, at the end of the day, these types of things where it's just sort of canned language that they use as placeholders. A lot of the times that language will lead to a song for me, because I'm like, what's that about? What's underneath that language? Like, what is not being said that they're trying to express through that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they can't, because they would feel too weak to say these things out loud,
I don't know how long we've been going, but I think it's my daughter's bedtime, so I got to go up there.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you for sharing some of your...
No problem at all. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to talk about songwriting, and thank you for saying so many nice things about me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's all for the camera.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's all for the show.
You're playing a run of shows in support of the EP, and I feel like you're often on tour.
Yeah, I'm in Nashville eventually, but like
May 4 at the Brooklyn Bowl, I think is
that right? With the paper cut? Is it Brooklyn Bowl?
I believe so.
Oh,
I think that's what
I was hoping it
saw.
was rhyming, but it's not. Sad. But
But I think Broken Bowl is kind of a more fun room to see.
Oh, do you? I've never played it.
I mean, Ryman's more like you're playing the Ryman, so that's. I hate to take that from you.
But opening for the Paper Kites, Australian band that's really great. Really, if you like me, you like them for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Man, thanks so much. I wish you the best. Congrats on the new record.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go ahead and click here to like and subscribe. You can click right there to watch another video, or click here to watch a playlist featuring songs of the Morse Code podcast. Okay, thank you very much.